Hi everyone, welcome back to Notes in the Margin. I'm Dr. Karen McGregor, and on this channel, I take what I'm reading and what I'm learning and translate it into the lens of higher education, student success, and adult learners. While this is my focus here, my lessons and learnings transfer across the education in general. So let's get going. Right now, we're working through the book Unreasonable Hospitality, and we're jumping back in, focusing on what we learn in chapter 7. And this focuses on you can't be unreasonable alone. So the big idea comes out of this chapter 7, and it contains one of my favorite ideas in the book. Will makes the strong point that we have to invite our team along if we want to be unreasonable, because you can't be unreasonable alone. Not if you want it to last, not if you want it to become part of the culture. So one extraordinary person creates a memorable moment, but a committed team can create that memorable culture that you want. In higher education, this is almost a cliche. Everybody has one: the professor or coach or advisor or hall director, the person who changed your life. For me, it was my journalism professor, Carol Schleicheck. Shout out, Carol. She wasn't just my professor, she became my second mom. When life fell apart, I'd end up in her office. Sometimes she'd literally hand me half of her sandwich while we talked. She believed in my writing before I believed in myself, and she was the heart of our department. Here's the question I keep coming back to. What if every interaction felt this way? What if belonging wasn't dependent on luck? What if students didn't have to search to find their Carol? What if the entire institution felt like that? That's culture. That's not individual heroics. Students shouldn't have to get lucky to find someone who cares. This is why I gravitated toward chapter 7, because Will didn't start with customers. He starts with his employees. He argues if your team doesn't feel seen, your guests never will. I think the same is true in higher education. If faculty and staff don't experience care, students never will. Students experience the culture we create for one another. So how do we get there? I want to share with you 3 things that I do in my practice of leadership that help me bring my team along. And I asked some members of my team and individuals about this. So here are the themes that kept coming back to me. The first thing is a nurturing culture. Not everything valuable looks productive. Sometimes the work that we do is really simply about connection. And this could be things through activities, formal activities like power hour, huddles, celebrating one another, opportunities for professional development, and really filling one another's bucket. Connection really is one of the first things to help people feel seen and valued in your organization. One thing I loved from chapter 7 was when Will talked about finding hidden treasures. He, at the restaurant, noted that there were some people who loved beer, some people who were passionate about coffee service, and others that really loved wine. He let those passions improve the restaurant. I try to do the same. It's about taking the time to learn what each person naturally brings. I have team members with a passion for mental health, working parents, basic needs. Everyone brings something different, and we're able to use these passions to shape the student experience. Culture gets stronger when people are contributing from their strengths and passion points. The third important activity or practice includes having shared goals and measuring what matters. Culture doesn't replace accountability, it strengthens it. When you have these shared goals, KPIs, and take the time to celebrate the wins and recognize extraordinary moments when someone was out there being a Carol, we're showing the people that are on our teams the difference they're making, and that drives the passion to continue making a difference. So aside from dividing my time between those 3 main leadership activities, one thing that's helped me tremendously is training the culture by giving my team a shared language. And these come from my standards of care in the McGregor context lens, and talking about stabilizing the inner rings and helping students navigate the outer rings, all themes that I brought in through this series. So if you haven't seen them yet, check out some of the earlier videos. When everyone understands what excellent support looks like, they don't have to guess. Shared standards create shared trust. Will recommends that you start small when it comes to culture change. One thing he shared from the book that really stayed with me is he said that 30 minutes a day can change a culture. And so for his team, he used the pre-meal, so that pre-meal restaurant tradition where the servers get together and learn about the specials and get to try some of the food. He used that to start to change the culture. For me, I use the power hours, team huddles, Small, consistent, intentional moments repeated over time build the culture you want to see. So here's what I wonder: why aren't more teams making time for this? Is it a lack of clarity? Is it a fear that relationship building isn't real work? Is it a lack of empowerment? Because from what I've learned, culture doesn't happen accidentally. Someone decides it's important enough to build, and then they start building it with their teams. You can't be unreasonable alone, but together you can create a culture for students that they'll never forget. So I have a margin question for you all today as I close this video. What is one small, consistent practice your team could begin this week that would move your culture one step closer to unreasonable hospitality? Share it with me in the notes and comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next margin video. Bye.